It's the Real Estate Podcast, brought to you by ANZ Home Loans for financial well-beings.
Hey, welcome back to the Real Estate Breakfast as we unpack the Australian property market for you. We do that one conversation at a time with some of the biggest names in real estate, just so that we can explore the trends and what is really happening beyond those media headlines. In any one week, there's a lot happening, isn't there? It is a Friday. Where has the week gone, eh? June the 5th today, and looking forward to an upcoming weekend. If you're looking at property, well, you've just got to get through today, and who knows, over the next couple of days you might find that dream property. Sydney's affordability crisis is still biting. It's hitting hard, as we know, for Sydney-siders looking especially to get into the property market. But there is one particular suburb which is quietly standing out as one of the few inner city suburbs where buyers can still enter the market for under $750,000. It is Ultimo. And according to Domain data, the median unit price sits at around $740,000, making it the most affordable suburb within 2 Ks of the CBD. So, have you considered Ultimo as a potential suburb that you can afford to get into? You know, year on year, we're sitting here reporting on what is happening. One thing is for sure, the market just keeps going up and up. And this morning, we're going to go back into 2023, along with some of the interviews that we brought you. It is a snapshot look back in time. You know, things can happen so quickly that we often forget what has happened 8 months ago, let alone back in 2023. So we are going to start by asking Chris, a mortgage broker, what were some of the standout features in the real estate sector that he saw for 2023?
Look, I think the biggest would be the interest rate rises, certainly taken the most amount of toll on, we work predominantly with families, mums and dads, borrowers. Because of the associated cost of living going up with, everything that you buy, plus receiving a bit of a whack with how much the home loan is now costing.
And you guys have had to sort of navigate your way through that with your clients and talk to them and say, well, hang on, unfortunately, you can't buy that property because things have changed.
Yeah, that's right. And borrowing capacity has been most drastically affected, I would say, in the all of this year plus the latter half of last year, but really culminating in the November rate rises to currently how much people can borrow. That's probably the worst that I've seen it, is currently the difference between how much people can borrow now compared to late 2022 time.
As mentioned, Sydney's median home prices now requires an annual gross income of $270,000. That is up by $90,000 from April of 2022. And if we have a look at Melbourne, Brisbane and Perth, also demanding higher incomes, rising for Melbourne by $49,000, Brisbane $50,000 and Perth $46,000 respectively. And Chris, it's a lot of extra money, isn't it, to be finding to get yourself into the property market?
It certainly is. And from my reading of this, it puts most people if you're in Melbourne and Sydney, it puts you in the tops tax bracket for earning. And if you're in the rest of Australia, it puts you pretty close.
How many of your clients have sort of looked at that? They're in the top tier of the income bracket and said, we just can't afford to actually buy in this market. We have to move.
Yeah, I think that what we're seeing there is that there's a lot more compromise around location and home size in line with how much people can currently borrow. If size of the home is not a comparable outcome, then the next suburb or a couple of suburbs within a local ring are usually selected.
Now, you guys did the Domain's end-of-year wrap for 2023, which indicates the median house price in all capital cities. I think it reached, 1,084,000, something like that?
Yeah, we did end, 2023, what a year. We did see that combined capitals median house price hit just over $1.08 million. That is at a peak, so it is a new record high. And look, we've got many of our cities ending 2023 with record pricing. Perth, Adelaide, Brisbane is now fully recovered from the downturn, and Sydney, $7,000 away from being at a new record high.
Yeah, and what about the median house price for the regional side of things? I think the figure there is around $590K.
Yeah, that's exactly right. Just over that. And that's at a peak as well. I think what we have seen is, the regional or combined regional areas didn't see as a significant downturn as we saw coming out of some of our capitals, but it has recouped. But we are seeing slower rates of growth in regional markets compared to capital cities.
Now, despite the cash rate rises that I was just talking about and the anticipation of a price decline, the housing market saw unexpected growth, which really defied expectations.
I think I walk away from 2023, really showcase the undersupply of housing that we had across Australia, because as you rightly said, we've seen the cash rate go from 0.1% to 4.35. We've seen 13 rate hikes over 2022 and 2023, and many of them were actually in 2023. And we've also seen consumer sentiment deeply, deeply pessimistic. But lo and behold, we've got record pricing across many of our capitals, and we've seen a recovery in price growth pretty much across all of them. They've all bottomed out and are starting to grow. And I think for me, I walk away and go, I look back at 2023 and it really showcases that shortfall of housing supply, which collided with rapid population growth. We also had a very strained construction sector. And of course, which has hit the headlines many times this year, the tightest rental market that Australia has ever experienced.
And if we have a look from your report, Nicola, the population growth, the tight rental markets and the unemployment really fueled demand, resulting in a scarcity of listings and really, helping push those prices higher.
That's absolutely right. I think the year was almost divided into two halves. In the first 6 months of 2023, as you said, we saw a scarcity of listings. And that was really kind of consumer behaviour coming out, where vendors didn't want to list their homes for sale until they really felt confidence back within the housing market. And once we hit kind of mid-year, we did see sellers come back in. They regained confidence. We saw new listings rise. And the rise in new listings really did help to ease the competition between buyers. And what we saw in the first half was actually quite strong rates of growth. And then in the second half, prices are still rising, but the pace of growth has been easing. So I think some really interesting dynamics over the listings environment. There's still some capital cities that are grossly undersupplied, like Perth and Adelaide, even Brisbane. It really does have a lack of supply. Supply is overall better in Melbourne, is probably the city I would pick out than most of the other capitals.
As mentioned, Sydney's median home prices now requires an annual gross income of $270K. That is up by $90,000 from April of 2022. And if we have a look at Melbourne, Brisbane and Perth, also demanding higher incomes, rising for Melbourne by $49K, Brisbane $50K, and Perth $46,000 respectively. And Chris, it's a lot of extra money, isn't it, to be finding to get yourself into the property market?
It certainly is. And from my reading of this, it puts most people in, if you're in Melbourne and Sydney, it puts you in the tops tax bracket for earning. And if you're in the rest of Australia, it puts you pretty close.
Now, families earning $200,000 plus, many people will say, gee, you're lucky to be in that position, $200,000 plus. Surely you are not finding any difficulty. And the Aussie dream of home ownership has turned into a little bit of a financial juggling point.
Yes, we're finding that there's this group of people who have done everything right by the textbooks. They've gone on to get tertiary educations, they're earning good incomes, they've bought their house in the suburbs, and they're finding that they're now a prisoner of that scenario, in the fact that with the rising house prices, typically salaried positions without a lot of wage growth, the cost of living crisis that we're experiencing, childcare as the family grows, these people are left with $0 left at the end of the week and having to make decisions about how they put food on the table.
Yes, people listening will definitely, Brett, be thinking, how is this possible when they're earning over $200,000 for the household income? It just very much depends on what you bought, how you leveraged yourself into that mortgage loan, and the way that the market dramatically changed on you, particularly after COVID.
Yes, spot on. The norm in 5 of Australia's capital cities now is that the average price of real estate is $1 million. So you have to start there. So anybody that's purchased in the last few years has had to borrow a lot of money just to get into the market. The average wage, unfortunately, no longer can afford the average capital city property. Couple that with the fact that there's been a real decline in living standards since the middle of 2002, and that's approximately 8%, plus pretty stagnant wage growth. And we end up in this situation that people are, looking at the rising cost of bills and wondering how they can put it all together. There will be people out there who will go, oh, poor them, they've got their house, whatever else. But unfortunately for many of these people, that if they sell the property and go and rent, it's not a considerable saving for them.
Stagnant wage growth, that is such a big problem in the climate that we are currently living in because of the way that the property market took off and has increased. We never will keep up.
Yeah, absolutely. The great reshuffle that happened post-COVID, or the great resignation as it was in the headlines at the time, where there was lots of opportunities, the people did seem to get, a bit of a bump in wages as they moved around. That hid this for a period of time. And I think we're now finding the last couple of years, as savings are depleting, household savings have gone down. We're just in this situation now that as rates come down, that saving is going to go towards the cost of living in another area. So I don't see a lot of relief for a lot of these households until there's something happens at a higher level in terms of wages or cost of living relief.
And when you're talking six-figure salaries and, a couple that are collectively earning over 200 grand and they're scraping by, only just scraping by, the dream home with no cash flow isn't a lot of fun, particularly when you've got the likes of, I think you've mentioned this, kids being pulled out of sports. All the luxuries are gone. Every single dollar is accounted for.
Yeah, I genuinely believe it impacts productivity across the whole economy, where you look at it and go, well, the harder I work, I'm not getting any further in front. It just leads to burnout, job dissatisfaction. I'm not sure where the answer is amongst those people who are experiencing this, because unfortunately there's no cheap alternative anymore. I look around, Sydney, where we're based, and you go, all right, well, what if you move out a little bit further? It doesn't seem to get much cheaper.
Yes, so there is a look back to 2023, 3 years on, and here we are in a completely different world. We would love to have petrol prices of 2023, food prices of 2023, and everyday living expenses. We will, though, won't we? We'll be saying the same thing 3 years on in 2029. So that is going to do us today. Have yourself a great Friday. We are back again tomorrow with the Saturday Property Show. Until then, enjoy your day.
Ready to step up your property knowledge? Access powerful insights with us.
Fair to say that the luxury market is growing year on year?
Yes, I believe so. It's become something that people really enjoy, and they save up to take their family away and live the high life.
68% of the decisions are made by women about buying the house. So you've really got to watch who you're talking to when you're actually talking to a couple and working out who really is the decision maker.
We connect you to the best real estate information across Australia. The Real Estate Podcast.